I've also, I think Alfred has my presentation, which he is going to move on. But as I can't see it, what I'll do is I'll just talk through what I wanted to say anyway. So first of all, Wanjuku, thank you so much for this opportunity. This is something that you and I have been actually planning for over a year, and so it's really exciting. We were supposed to do this last year, and we weren't able to. But I'm so thrilled and excited that we can bring women in LPG to Kenya. What I'd like to do first is just say who I am. My name is Alison Abbott. I'm the Communications Director for the WLPGA Association, but I'm also I have the pleasure and honour of running the Women in LPG Global Network. I'm speaking to you today from the rural France, where we're based, where the World LPG Association is based in Paris. So I think you've got a really international setup here. And also, just want to say, I've been really impressed by the discussions that have been going on. So let's just let me just talk a little bit about, if I may, about our network. Now, why women in LPG? Well, the WLPGA sort of recognised that there was a need to have more women in our industry. I think it became clear about 5 or 6 years ago. And also, we would go to events and I would often be the only woman speaker. And we're not a minority. 55% of graduates that come into business are women, but only about 10% are at a high level. And women are twice as likely to drop out of their careers as they go along and get to mid-career status. So are we providing dream jobs for women? And also the perception of our industry, the oil and gas industry, is it really an exciting choice? NGOs that we work with also say something really interesting in that, and this is something that we've also talked about earlier today, is that most LPG consumers are women. It's women that make the purchasing decision. It's usually women who use the product, particularly in cooking. So why are there so few executives at senior levels? So the WLPGA recognised this opportunity, and we feel that as the World LPG Association, we were well positioned to actually do something about it. So 2015, we launched the global network. Before we did, we looked at other industries, similar industries, that the nuclear industry, the wind industry, and they all have women's network, active networks. And so we looked at some really good sort of base ways of working, and we came up with 3 pillars of objectives for the global network. The first one is support and retain women who are already in our industry. The second one is promotion and advocacy, so that the industry knows that this network exists. And the third one is educate and attract. Now, what we actually do, we run it as a business. We work to an action plan that we launch every year, and it sets out our rationale, and it sets out our milestones and our goals. And so that's all available, public available on the WLPGA website in the Women in LPG section. The kind of activities that we do is we hold knowledge exchange sessions around the world. At the moment we can't travel, of course, but we still manage to do that remotely. We have role model profiles. These are so important. These are profiles of women who are really, really sort of our sort of success barometers. I can see that the plan is on the. It's up, so I think that I'm quite a way ahead of it now. So let's keep going. Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. Let's see where we are. If you could keep going a bit more. And next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Excellent. Stop there. Thank you. So I wanted to show this slide. I'm really pleased because I think there's a lady on there that we've already heard from today, Bessem, who was one of our first role models, and I think we've got this library of about 30 role models of these inspirational stories from women. We also have a database of women speakers. I think congratulations to this event because you've got lots of women speakers here, which I think is really important to show diversity. We have a big movement on social media, and International Women's Day on the 8th of March is really important to us. Next slide, please. We also launched the Women of the Year Awards, and this is really important. We have been incredibly successful at this. It garners an enormous amount of media attention. And then we also launched Young Woman of the Year Award because we felt that there was really a need to, it's a different kind of award. This is to promote women who are upcoming in our industry, and these are just the winners. The lady on the left is from Kazakhstan, Zana. She won Woman of the Year Award. The lady on the right is Marcela from Ultragas in Brazil, and she won Young Woman of the Year Award. And the lady on the bottom is Morad, and she's a Cameroon lady who has a fascinating story. So we're going to also put her up as a role model. Next slide, please. I'm going to skip this slide because it went into a little bit too much detail. So next slide, please. So I'd like just to mention the national chapters. Thank you. We've currently got 6 national chapters, and in about 10 minutes we'll have 7, which is so exciting. Our national chapters are in the US, in Colombia, in Nigeria, South Africa, India, and Myanmar. Why we have national chapters is that we just have a small group of a lady helping me sort of backstage, if you like, that manage the global network, and we can't be in all the places. So national chapters enable us to do work in country. What's important, and I know that Wanjiku shares this as well, is that each national chapter is very different. What we need to do in Myanmar is very different to what we may need to do in the US. So we need these national chapters, and this is where we're getting into sort of the meat of today's conversation. Next slide, please. So what does a national chapter look like and do? Well, the one that we're launching today for Kenya is all about the people. It's all about bringing women to LPG or LPG to women. And I think we've talked already about the energy transition and access to energy. And this is about women. We still have to nurture women in our industry, but it's a little bit like what happens in India in that the users are very important as well. We need to agree the leadership. I know that Wanjiku is going to be the coordinator, and we invite Wanjiku to join the bi-monthly meetings that we hold for the 6 other national chapter leads, because it helps look at best practices and work out how everything works and create this community. When we communicate, we use our logo and we use the graphic chart. We also will we'd love to come down to Kenya and hold a knowledge exchange session. And I'd also really like to nominate, to welcome nominations for Woman of the Year Award from Kenya. Next slide, please. For people on this call, please support us. Please support our social network. If you have sort of really exciting young women in your industry, contact me, because we'd really like to get to know them and write role models about them. Next slide, please. And just before I pass on to Joy, what's coming up? We've got a webinar in June. We held a webinar last year. We had over 300 people from over 33 countries. We'll hold this in June. We'll follow up with a webinar in November. And we will hold a knowledge exchange in December during LPG Week in Dubai. And hopefully the people that are taking part in this event will be able to take part in all of those. The webinars are all free to attend. They'll include training, they'll include really exciting discussions. So please join us for that. What I'd like to do now is, last slide, please, Alfred. Thank you. Thanks. That concludes my comments. I'm going to hand over to a very inspirational young lady called Joy Shaiyen, who manages the Women in LPG network in Nigeria. They're one of our shining lights. You do a fantastic job. So I wanted you to just sort of talk a little bit about, especially as a fellow African, about some of the things that you do. And then, Joy, when you finished, if you could hand back to me, and I'll formally launch our Kenya chapter. And I'm done with the slides. Thank you so much, Alfred.
Thank you for that very, very warm introduction, Alison. I'm extremely happy to be here, and congratulations to the Kenyan chapter. One other reason why I'm excited about the launching today is because it's my birthday today. So it's a good thing that this is happening today. This chapter is going to be one that is going to be very dear to my heart. So once again, I'm happy to be here, and thank you, Alison, for the opportunity. Like I usually say to you, it's always, always wonderful to be in groups like this, talking about women, talking about gender mainstreaming. It's I think it's the way forward. We need better diversity. I like to think of WINLPG as, I know Alison has said so much, but I'll just like to share my personal thoughts. So I like to think of WINLPG as three things personal to me. First of all, as a stage where we get to celebrate our successes and our wins. It is often said that women do not celebrate their successes as often as they ought. And WINLPG affords you that unique opportunity. Secondly, as a platform or a pivot where we get to educate, to collaborate, and to empower more women beyond cooking with LPG, but to pursue professional careers within the industry. We want to see more women that work specific to the LPG space. And then thirdly, as a mandate, we want more women who are in executive positions, taking decisions and participating in policy that affects LPG. And why is this so important? I know Alison has said so much, but 70% of global LPG consumption goes into domestic cooking, and then in 80% of cultures, women are responsible for cooking. So we ask the question, like she said, how come women who use the fuel the most aren't participating in the policy or in the governance or regulatory framework that affects LPG? And let me share a very relatable context. If you were to carry out a survey about a product, for example, who would you most likely be speaking to? Your guess is as good as mine. You'll be speaking to the consumers. So we want more women who use LPG to participate in the decision-making that affects LPG. And of course, that is one of the reasons why we're in Kenya today. And just in case you're wondering, how do we achieve all of these things? I'll just share a very brief story of something that happened in Nigeria, how we did a project, something that was supposed to be so simplistic, but evolved into a mandate for us. So we carried out an advocacy project, and we went to secondary schools. And what made this so unique was the fact that we moved the narrative from telling people to cook with LPG to something more educational, something more instructive. So we changed the narrative to the 1,001 other applications of LPG that we want you secondary school students to start thinking about. There are different perspectives. An environmental perspective that we want you to start thinking about. There's climate change, there's global warming, there's deforestation, and there is technology. Everything seems to be happening using technology. We want you to see a convergence. Where can clean energy like LPG and technology find a common ground? We want you to start thinking now. And the icing on the cake for me that day was the fact that we went there with an LPG-powered water heater. So it was moving from a theoretical, you can use LPG to mow your lawn, you can use it to power your lawnmowers, you can use it for this, and then demonstrating to them that, hey, this is already happening now. And we want you to start thinking, how can this be improved upon in the next 5 years? How can this get better in the next 10 years? So it was this kind of discussions that we were able to stimulate within the context of a secondary school. And what it did for us immediately, the two immediate gains was, first of all, we're able to enlist these young people as role models as change agents, I beg your pardon, to their words or to their parents or the people around them. We wanted them to start having these discussions at home and start asking questions. And then the second thing was a more longer term benefit. So we wanted to set up energy clubs where we could continue to, have this kind of conversations and see how we can help these people move into the industry very seamlessly. So, and this is just one very simple example of changing a very simple narrative into a mandate. And we had the pleasure of a representative from the Office of the Vice President, who is responsible for LPG expansion, join us on that project. So I know the landscape, like Alison said, that each national chapter is unique. So I know that how Kenya is going to be implementing their own initiatives will be different. But the good thing is that we have a symbiosis of national chapters where we can discuss issues that are local to us and then get global perspectives from other national chapters. So what I'll do very quickly is to share some pictures from that event. I will just, Alfred, do you have the pictures or do I have to figure this out by myself?
Just a moment.
And then, Joy, if we can't show the pictures because I'm conscious that we're a little over time, then maybe we can... Yeah, I think if they're not coming up quickly, because I'm conscious that we're eating into lunchtime.
Okay.
So
I'll
Joy,
just hand over to you, Alison.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Happy birthday from everybody.
Thank you.
I have the honour and the pleasure to officially declare Women in LPG Kenya open.
Thank you and happy birthday, Joy.
Yeah, thank you so much. Wanjuku, I know we've overrun on time a little bit, but do you have any closing comments on this exciting chapter?
As you can imagine, I do, and thank you very much. We couldn't have had a better I can call her chief guest than Joy for sharing her experiences. And you're right. The difference between one country to another is not as huge as we can imagine. There are always areas that we can, copy and paste or copy and kind of massage to fit into the Kenyan ecosystem. All I can say is that indeed the LPG experience needs to be enjoyed by persons who will then share that experience with others so that we can increase the footprint, not just in terms of employment opportunities, but also in terms of usage and the benefit that comes from participating in the value chain as entrepreneurs, for women in especially East Africa and in Kenya, because LPG is not only a transforming product in their home, but it is a transforming opportunity for women to get engaged either as entrepreneurs in the distribution value chain, and also in terms of solutions to afforestation, in terms of solution to reducing non-communicable diseases, solutions for increasing agricultural production, for solutions in ensuring that the dignity of women is upheld, if nothing else, in the 21st century. So very pleased and honored to have had Joy on call on her birthday, and also to have the Kenyan chapter officially launched. And we look forward to working together, to collaborating, to picking your brain, and to ensuring that there's a benefit that accrues from this national chapter. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So we've come to the end of the session for the Women in LPG, the East African chapter. And we'd like to, the next session is basically introduction to the summit part 2. But before that, we are going to have a short break. And then we're going to resume at 1:20 p.m. Kenyan time. So that is 19 minutes from now. 19 minutes from now, that is 1:20 p.m. Kenyan time. Thank you. We just meet on the next session, which is going to be the 6th, the summit part 2 welcome and introduction. Thank you.
Meanwhile, visit the exhibition.
Yes. Okay.